almost like this is what we're doing now. It's the only avenue, right? You're looking at every avenue, right? Technically, it's the only one to go. Only thing is, will you go down that avenue? You may talk this, you may have talked that, you see what I mean? That's what evolution. That's the problem with other people. They cannot change when the time comes to change. Right? It was something. Did anybody see the movie about Mandela and soccer? Not soccer, but rugby 1995?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I didn't watch it though.
Right, you didn't watch it. But he said in there, the sports commentator was saying, Mandela was saying in the interview, yeah, I used to play rugby myself. It's a real rough game. Not as rough as politics though. But anyway, so the Springboks, they used to, he said in prison, we always was against the Springboks. We was always for Europe or whoever, you know. He said, but now your point. He said, yeah. He says, history, he said something like, sometimes history demands that you change. And for us to be where we are right now, we have to change, right? Yeah. And for what he did in South Africa, it was brilliant. It's just that you couldn't keep the niggas doing good long enough. But it was brilliant. They just messed up where they didn't give enough of the land back, you know, because white folks still have the power, I mean the money and the power in South Africa. And the niggas is messing up. So, and the white folks is feeding the democratic ideas in the born frees. It won't be but a little while, what's the name, will be a thing of the past. Yeah. Because all the born frees that was not born under apartheid, that didn't live under apartheid, maybe they were 5, 6 years old, they don't remember. They're born free. They're the police, they're everybody. They're democratic, like, you know, they're not with Mandela's party, whatever that thing was. ANC, they're not with them. They're not with them because the Negro won't act right. Zuma, this crackpot, girlfriends everywhere. Even the poor woman had AIDS or something, he's still messing up. I know, that's insanity. You know what I mean? They did the brothers just like the Jomo Kenyatta did the Mau Mau's. When I was in East Africa, it was a big thing about the Mau Mau's were all armed robbers. They were out on the road robbing people, using what they learned doing the rebellion. They were at the forefront, but they brought Kenyatta back, put him in, and he was one of them, and he disenfranchised them, right? The ANC disenfranchised all the people. They were standing around in big barrels when I was there, getting heat from the big barrel, you know, you throw wood in there. Didn't look out for them. Okay. So I'll put it this way, I'll move toward a close. We've studied just about everything, and we see for the time we're living in, for the place we are, for the trouble that's headed Americans' way from what they're doing in Russia and China and all the Middle East, right? With all of what's happening in Palestine, all the people who we just mentioned are on the ascendancy, even in Palestine. You could tell, right, that this one was different. You could tell Yemen, that's different, right? They held on. And then they not only held on, not to change the subject, but they're raising money. The little babies in Yemen got the biggest the finger, right? You see
Right,
the
the
arm,
arms, yeah.
big as the finger, and they raise the money. There's some serious people for Palestine. Technically, the Palestinians got it better than they do, right? Technically. But they're helping, I'm telling you. See, okay, that's the team we own. And it's so much stuff. But instead of talking about strategic brilliance, I'm going to stop right now and say that after this historical analysis, we're writing our own history. That's what people would say about us. If we looked at this historical analysis and we wrote what we said we would. We wrote our own history, or we wrote our own future. Yep. So we look at this as strategic brilliance. So we'll be going over this for the near future. And I would just like to close with a few statements here from a case against ex-guard during the scrutiny of D.C. Imam. This is a 2007 article. Did anybody see that in the newspaper? Remember that article that was in the newspaper, or did anybody see it?
The one about you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. I just wanted to read a few things just to bring us up to date. This is the same article when they was trying to say that Abdul Jalil did da-da-da-da-da. And Abdul Jalil, he's a nice guy, but he was head of security, and the only thing he was going to secure is a dinner table. Tell the truth. You would think that he was actually pregnant. And it was his job to
Get the brothers in shape.
physical fitness. Some brothers hated it. You gotta leave it alone, take it easy, don't worry about it. Because we already know what Boss Man is doing. This is 2007. He's been doing this stuff for decades. Well, we already know that whoever you get rid of him, they're going to bring somebody else in doing the same. You're not going to do, you know what I mean? So let him stay around. So him and what's his name, his homeboy, come here sometime, eat up all the food. It's okay, it's good. So they're talking about a debate based on the questions surrounds the case to be heard this fall in U.S. District Courthouse in Greenbelt. Submitted evidence includes public pronouncements by Abdul Ali Musa, who has served for 18 years as Imam of a mosque in Southeast Washington. Amongst his past statements, Zionist American agents blew up the World Trade Center. That's terrible. Palestinian suicide bombers are heroes. U.S. government saturated U.S. cities with heroin during the 1960s to snuff out the Black Rebellion. White sissy federal agents are best handled by the techniques of his lecture, How to Pump the FBI. This is in the newspaper, so. The government hadn't charged the Imam, but a long-time and devoted member is what they call it now. Derek Jackson, 37, is charged with such and such because he was working at Andrews Air Force Base and he didn't say that he knew us. Musa, 62, so you know this is old.
So he lied on the security clearance.
No, security, that we kept him there because we know who he is. We've been knowing look, we've been knowing what we've been knowing since the day we got here and before. So anything that's happened, we're not collaborating with it, but we're just waving at it. And we're not, look, ain't nobody gonna like get tired. We don't want the white man to make us do nothing. Ain't nobody gonna do nothing. You ain't seen me all frowned up doing no dumb stuff like that. Go on, boss man, do what you want. But we're going to use what Allah has given us, and we're gonna head it, we're gonna get out of it what we think is best for us, or what's good for us. So that's why we kept him where he was. You stay there, tell yourself. Man, I'm on, hey, yo, working out. That's what we built the workout thing. Yeah, I'll be back in a minute. You would never see it. You wouldn't, don't worry. You ever hear him say that? I'll be there, I'm gonna come, you know. He has never lifted a weight. Never, never, never. He's never walked around the block. Never, never, never. He has walked, if he could get up and walk, from his seat, and he stayed there playing video games all day, right? No, but we haven't had a security. It's a joke. It's fun. And the brothers were serious. Man, I said, just take it easy. Don't worry about a thing. Why are you going to try to do something serious when you got cranks that's everywhere? Why are you going to use all your energy? Just have a good time, right? That's why, oh, you're going to be back in a minute, we'll be waiting on you, just laughing. Man, I won the championship when I was 14 out of the boxing. You know what? So you was 14? I said, that was great. I said, man, when I was 6 years old, you know what I mean? I beat up all of these people, and I was the heavyweight champion in California. So he tells me a lie, just tell him a bigger lie. Unbelievable lie, it's just ridiculous. Why would I tell him, nigga, you lying? Did you hear you're 14, you won, what, the Golden Gloves? It might even be illegal for somebody that young to be fighting. You can't do that. I ain't selling. Oh, that ain't nothing. Man, when I was 6 years old, man, look at here. I was a wrestling champion. I was a boxing champion. You know what I mean? I was a middleweight champion, and a heavyweight champion, and a flyweight champion. And I did this and I did that. And he would just look at me like, no. Not like I'm lying, which of course, it's not even lying. It's just like, yeah, you can tell one, wait till you hear this. Okay, let me speed up. Jackson's attorney, he's talking about me. According to court records, the government proposed showing jurors, amongst other things, a 17-word video snippet featuring Musa that aired this year on Fox News. They was going to show them. It said, if you don't stay out of our way and leave us alone, we're going to burn America down. Musa said from behind the podium at University of California, Irvine, September the 9th. This is September the 9th, 2001. 2 days before, in fact, I got stuck in LA. That comment was part of what for Musa was a typically wide-ranging speech. It careened from subjects such as visits to Pakistan to Japanese holdout fighters of World War II, but centered on Jamil Al-Amin, formerly of H. Rap Brown, a prominent Black Panther in the 1960s. Musa set up the Burn America Down comment by saying that he was paraphrasing Al-Amin, which prosecutors have since acknowledged. In other words, if I would have said, burn baby burn, or burn down America, they could have put me in jail because I was advocating violence. But at this conference I said, we used to say, or they used to say, burn, baby, burn. I said it meant two things. Either burn, baby, burn, mean you can dance real good, or burn down America. And what they said was, if you don't leave us alone, you don't give us our freedom, we're going to burn America down. And I had run up on this Japanese holdout in World War II.
Yeah.
This was about in 1975. That's 30 years after the war. That's 30 years. Yeah, that's 30 years after the war was over. You know, out in the islands, they used to find Japanese holdouts. A unit might have been stuck on an island, and they was out there living in the woods for 5 years, a lot of them. But as the time got further, pretty soon you didn't hear about it anymore. But the last one was a guy, he became a hero in Japan. They found him, but he was still on the move. So somebody had let him know that the war was over 30 years ago. And you might as well surrender and lay down there. He said, you bring my commander here to put me on this post. And it showed him handing over his sword 30 years later to his commander. I was using that to teach on discipline, self-control, and the way we ought to be about Islam. And I ain't giving up nothing, right? Hey man, I said, that is a bad boy there. Hey man, 30 years later, he been running around in the woods and his uniform was torn. He still had his Japanese stuff on. And that boy, I said, that's a bad boy there. So it kind of inspired, it gave you a little inspiration. Okay, but anyway, so I quoted that. I ain't going to talk about Marty Gray now. John Miller, an assistant director and chief spokesman for the FBI, said Musa's comments about white sissy and dishonest federal agents were incorrect, bigoted, and stupid. Said how stupid. And Musa knows as much, Miller said, but makes the remarks to get attention. The FBI has gone to great lengths to reach out to the Muslim community nationwide. Miller said, adding that Musa's opinion of the FBI doesn't track with those of national Muslim leaders, which is true. Our attitude about boss man is different than theirs. They love him. But the thing of it was, John Miller, the director of the FBI just waves at everybody and says, you don't do nothing. It's the assistant director. They have 2 assistants. They run the FBI. If the assistant director of the FBI, now this is the guy that's writing the article, and he's talking to me. He takes him a long time to write this article. So he says, yeah, I talked to da-da-da-da-da. That means that this was way back then, that the FBI has to have detailed stuff on me. Of course, I know it, but this is telling everybody else. If the assistant director, that means the one that's managing everything, right, knows about you, then that means that, hey, so does the rest of everybody else in the FBI, and so it's a national thing. It ain't something, so Musa says he isn't a racist. When he criticized Jews as Euros and his frequent term for white people, Musa says he's criticizing the Israeli and American system. We would use Euros. But anyway, the point I'm making is that whatever we're doing here been doing it for a long time. And we've been on the radar from day one. I showed y'all paperwork from 1981 that we don't want you to go back out there, you know, parole hearing. We don't want you to go back out there and do that Muslim stuff again. Like that's the reason I was back, because of the Muslims, right? And I went right back out and did just one because I wasn't paying no attention. Now, anyway, the last part I read is, you Muslim leaders should be ashamed of yourself, he wrote, castigating local leaders for inviting Bush to visit the Islamic Center in Washington, D.C., comparing them to German Jews of the 1930s. He closed the letter with a disclaimer of sorts. I ask Allah's forgiveness for anything I might have said. That's a kulukali hada wa astaghfirullah li wa lakum. So it's not I'm so sorry I said. Well, in a way it is. If anything might go wrong. Another hit for him appearing on the hot seat on Fox News, Hannity's America, and engaging in rapid fire across the table arguments with hosts. Imam, if you're not on the terror watch list, you ought to be. I am on the terror watch list, what I say. You belong on the terror watch list. Hey man, you belong on the insane list. Of people that support George Bush. And I mean, see, they wasn't ready for stuff. They used to, I ain't had no more interviews on no more programs that I can think of, maybe one or two from Channel 2 down in Atlanta. But they want bootlickers and accommodators. So when I told Hannity what I told him, they said, that's it for you. You'll never show up on our stuff again. Open letter to the people of Oakland. This is an open letter. It's saying the same thing that we said today about Christians, Jews, and Muslims establishing the kind of system that Musa alayhi salam would love, that Isa alayhi salam and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi salam would love. Open letter to the people of Oakland. It's an open letter to the churches. Well, that's open letter to the churches. We got open letters to DC churches. We got all of those. What I'm saying is, this stuff have been happening all along. All of these things, we've been moving toward